everyone. I hope you all are doing great. My name is Anjali and I'm a SDE2 at Microsoft working in their Windows team. Before Microsoft, I was working for Siemens Healthineers, which is again a good product-based company. I have roughly 6 years of experience in the world of software development. Now we are going to be discussing some important questions on SQL, and you guys must be aware that how important SQL is from the interview perspective. So in this session, we are going to be covering SQL, NoSQL, and MySQL. So let's get started. So we are going to be answering some of the questions based upon SQL, NoSQL, MySQL. All right. So let us see what is our first question. So the first question which we have here is what is RDBMS and how it is different from the DBMS. So first of all, you guys should be knowing what is actually DBMS. So this DBMS actually stands for Database Management System. And if you will be talking about RDBMS, so it stands for Relational Database Management System. So if you guys will see here, even in this full form, there is one thing which is added here, which is relational. So what is the difference between these two? When you talk about DBMS, right, in that particular one, there is no relationship between the data. But when you talk about your RDBMS, in that we have our data which are having some relationship, or you can say which are related to each other. And when you talk about RDBMS, so what it will be doing, whenever you will have to store your data, it is going to be storing it in the form of some collection of tables. And when you have to talk about the relations, like what kind of relations it is actually going to be keeping here, so those ones are going to be defined on the fields of these tables. Okay, so that is how it is actually going to be different. Now I will also help you in understanding the applications in which actually RDBMS will be useful. So if you will be understanding RDBMS, so why we are using it? So that we can build relationships. So here, where is the actual need of using it? When you actually talk about transaction. So when you will be talking about transaction, right, what is that which we actually target at doing? Either all or nothing. Now, what is the meaning of this? So let us say you guys must be already aware about Google Pay or some Phone Pay, Paytm, something like that. Okay. So what happens? Let us say this is a user A, this is a user B, and this user A has to send some money to this user B. Let us say he wants to send 500 rupees. Now, what is that is actually going to happen? When you will be talking about transaction, so the first step which will be involved is this person is making a transaction of 500 rupees. So what will happen? This money will get deducted from this end, then it will be somewhere here in middle. After that, it will get credited to B. What if after this it got lost somewhere in middle? So what will happen? Nobody will be receiving the 500 rupees. So what do we want in these cases? Even if you must have seen, when you transfer some money, so two things happen. Either the person gets the money or you get it back. That is what we aim at the word transaction, that either all the steps should get performed in the defined order or nothing should happen at all. So whenever you are targeting transaction, at that particular time, you will be needing RDBMS. Okay. Now I'll take one more example. Let us say you are building an application where the payment is involved. So if you're building an application where reservation is involved, or where you are actually building an application where a set of activities are there, then either all of them has to pass or nothing should succeed. So if you will be in any of those situations, in any of those applications, whatever I have just now told you, in such a case, you just have one option left, which is called as RDBMS. And this foundation is considered to be one of the highest, or you can say number one USP for the selling point for relational database management system. They are still there, even though the world has changed in the term of technology. So many databases are coming. Still people are using this RDBMS. Majorly in the banking system, they still rely on only one thing, which is RDBMS. Because of RDBMS, they feel safe because of this transaction property. They know either it is going to succeed or nothing will happen. And even if you talk about the coming years, right, in that case also people will not stop using RDBMS. Also, when you talk about RDBMS, right, in this case, you will be having fixed schema. So this is something which you should be keeping in your mind, fixed schema, because later on we are also going to be discussing about NoSQL. That is where this thing is going to play major role. So you need to understand, when you talk about RDBMS, here you will be having a fixed schema. Okay. Now let's move to the next question. So the next question which we have here is difference between SQL and MySQL. So you know here what is the full form for SQL? So SQL stands for Structured Query Language. So why do we use this language? Basically, it is used for retrieval of your data. So you will be using it for retrieving data. And what is the next thing which you will be doing here? Whatever your data is there, on that also you will be providing some queries, and how those queries are going to be helpful in manipulating it. By the word manipulating, we means updating, reading operation, deletion operation. So all of that comes under your manipulation. So we can say retrieving and manipulating structured database. Now this is what is your SQL. You are going to be using it for handling organized data, which is going to be having some entities, which is actually your variables, and the relationship between those entities of the data. Now on the other side, if you will see, we have something which is called as MySQL. Now what is MySQL? So basically it is a relational database. You can say it is a relational database management system. So you already know what is a relational database management system. So one of that is your MySQL. And what else are the examples for the same? Like your SQL Server, Oracle, IBM DB2. These all are your relational database management system. And why do we actually require these? So basically it is used to manage SQL databases. So basically that is what the need. Now let's move to the next question. Now the next question which we have here is, what are constraints in SQL? So before moving ahead, let us discuss what constraints are. So you know, basically these are used to specify rules concerning data in the table. So you will be having some data. On that, if you want to specify certain rules, so how can you do that? With the help of constraints. And you know, these constraints, it is not necessary that you will be applying it only on one field. You can also apply it on multiple fields. So let us say you are creating your table. At that time also you can apply these constraints, or if you already have your table, if you are altering it. So you know, if you want to alter your table, how can you achieve it? With the help of alter table command. So that time also you can go ahead and apply these constraints there. Now what are the common constraints which we use? That is not null, check, default, unique, index, primary key and foreign key. Now we will be discussing all of that one by one. So the first one which we have here is not null. So as the name suggests, not null. So what it must be doing? It must be saying that I do not want a value which is null. So that is exactly the same thing which it is doing. It is going to be restricting the null value. So if you have a column and if you do not want that column to contain any null value, at the time of creating that table, you can specify not null there. And where and all it will be used. So at the time of creating your forms, that time you must have seen a red asterisk or something on that field specifying these are the mandatory fields and you have to provide value for that. So corresponding to that, when you will be creating your table, that time you will be expecting a value. So the table is not going to be containing null values there. So we can say it restricts null value from being inserted into a column. Okay, now the next one which we have here is check. So as the name says, like, whenever you understand something, always understand it from a real life example. So let us say we talk about check. So let us say you are going outside. What we say, just check if you have kept the keys in your bag or not. So what is the thing which we are doing there? We are actually checking if keys are there or not. So similar way, if you are going to be using this check constraint, so what it will be doing, it will be verifying that all the values in a field, it is specifying some condition. So we will be putting some condition. What condition can be? That value should be even, value should be odd, it should be greater than 10, less than 10. So all of these conditions are like, these are the conditions which you will be giving based upon the problem statement which you have. So what check will be doing? It verifies that all values in a field satisfy a condition. Okay, now the next one which we have is default. If you guys remember constructors from your programming language, so what constructor do? It initializes any variable. Similarly, if you want to achieve that here, we are going to be using something called as default. So what default will do? It is going to be assigning a value if no value has been specified for that field. If you are not giving it some field, by default it will have some value. So we can say automatically assigns a default value if no value has been specified for the field. Okay, now we are going to be discussing about unique. Let me erase it off. Yeah, so the next one which we have here is unique. As the name says, unique. Even if you're going outside in market for shopping and all, but we say, I want a unique design. What do we mean by a unique design? Something which is not common. Similarly, if you are saying unique, so what does that mean? That this field is going to be having all the unique values. And what is the best example for that? Some serial number, some roll number. All the serial numbers are going to be unique, correct? Or if you talk about, we as a, citizen of any country, we will be assigned with a unique numbers. In India, we have something called as PAN number, Aadhaar number. Along with that, we have something called as passport number, which is actually worldwide. But if you know, that is unique. If you have some passport number, no other person will have the same passport number, right? So when you talk about unique, it means It will be ensuring unique values to be inserted into the field. The next one which we have is index. Now, why do we need index? Let's talk about the real life. You must have seen indexes in your books. What is the advantage of that index? Let us say you want to open chapter number 11. So instead of actually flipping all the pages, what you can do, you can go to the index, you can see from which page you are actually starting your chapter 11. So you can directly jump to that page number. How it is helping you in saving your time, correct? Similarly here, you will be having a table. In that table, you will be having multiple values. If you want to retrieve a value, if you will go one value after another, it will take hell lot of time. If you want to save it, you can just do it with the help of index. So how it will be helpful? It will index a field, providing faster retrieval of records. Okay. Next, we have something called as primary key. Now, what a primary key is going to be doing. So, just how we were talking about a unique field, right? Similarly, we have something called as primary key as well. They both are similar to each other. Now, the next question arises is, if they both are similar, then why do we need both? So basically, when you talk about unique, so in the unique, it can have null entry as well. On the other side, primary cannot have a null key. Okay. So for the primary, we can say uniquely identifies each record in a table. Now the next one which we have here is your foreign key. As the name says, we also say in the real life foreigners. What does that mean? They are also humans. But why are we calling them foreigners? Because they do not belong to our country. Similarly, when you talk about foreign key, what does that mean? It means it is also some value, but it is coming from some other table. So if you have a table here, if some key is a primary key here, if you want to use that key in your present table, that will become as the foreign key. Okay. And why do we actually need it? Sometimes you just want to link two tables together. So how can you do that? By using a foreign key. So how that is going to be working? It will ensure referential integrity for a record in another table. All right, now let's move to the next question. Now the next question which we have here is, what is a join, and list its different types. So whenever you have to understand anything, firstly the first approach should be to understand what does that word say in English language. Now what is the English meaning of this word join? Of course, to merge something or to combine something. Similarly, when you will be talking about join in SQL, what it will be doing, you will be having two or more tables. If you want to combine all the records or rows from those, you can do it with the help of join. So if you have to define it, what you will do for the join, you can say SQL join is used to combine records or rows from, instead of one, we'll write two only, two or more tables in SQL database based on a related column between the two. So of course, whenever you are going to be performing join, you will be having two rows. sorry, two columns, and based upon that only you are going to be merging it together. All right, now we are going to be discussing what are the different types of joins. So the first one which we have here is your inner join. Okay, some people also call it as just join, or some people call it as inner join, this one. Okay, now if you will see what it is actually doing, it is having nothing but the intersection of two tables, correct? So if you guys remember about the intersection and union from the maths, this one is pretty much same to that. So when you will be talking about inner join, what it will be giving you, the the common entries in both of the tables. So when you will be performing inner join, so whatever the matching values are there in both of the tables, this is going to be providing you that. And when you will be talking about the queries, so this is most widely used. So what it will be doing, it retrieves records that have matching values in both tables involved in the join. Now, when this kind of a question is going to be there in the interview, so how it will be there? They may, they can ask you this question in two ways. First one is they may give you a problem statement. Based upon that, they will say, now you perform, or they may say, now can you tell me what is the way of getting the common entries from both of the tables? Or they can give it to you straightforward two tables, and they will say, based upon this column, can you give me the matching values? So the question can come in both of the scenarios. How now you can write down the query, because in the interviews they may ask you to write down the query as well. Now I will be helping you with the query part. So for this particular one, what the query will be, of course you are matching it from two tables. So it will be like select star from, let us say we have two tables, table A and table B. So we will say from your table A, and what you have to do, you have to join. On which table you are joining it? Your table B. After that, what you will do, you will say select star. It is saying from your table A, just give me the matching values. Okay, by performing join. Similarly, you will be doing it in the other direction. So you will say select star from table B, sorry, table A, and then you will be performing inner join here. So this is how you will be doing based upon these keywords, join and inner join. It will understand that you want to perform some join, and that is your inner join, where you will be getting the common entries from both of the tables. Now the next one which we have here is your left join. So let's discuss about your left join. So when you talk about your left join, what it is actually going to be there. So this particular part is your left join. So if you will see here, what it is actually giving you, it is giving you values from your left table. Also, what this part contains, it contains nothing but the matching values. And from where these matching values are coming? From your another table, that is your table B. Okay, so what it will be doing, it will be retrieving all the records or your rows from the left table and the matching records, or you can say rows, from the right table. So that is how you are going to be performing your left join. Now I will be helping you with the query for the same. So you know how you will write down the query. It is actually going to be something like select star from your table A. You will have to give it some name. That is also called as alias. It is just like, in the real world, you guys must be having your name. With that name, the outside people are going to recognize you. But at the same time, they may, like your family members or your friends, they may give you some nickname. So even with that nickname, you are going to be associated. So that is how we give some alias names here in table as well. So for this, I'm going to be giving it a name like A. Now what do we have to perform? Some left join. On which table we are going to be performing? Table B. So give it some alias name as well. Now you will also have to tell on which column you want to perform. So you will write on A dot column is equals to B dot column. So based upon this, you are going to be performing some left join. Now we will be looking into the next join, which is your right join. So, when you talk about your right join, what it is, this is your right join. So if you will see, what are the values which it is taking? All the values from the right table. Along with that, it is also taking all the matching values from the left table, because this particular part, this is nothing but the matching values from the left table. Okay, so if you will see, your left and right join are more or less same to each other. Only difference is from which table you want the matching records and from which table you want all the records. Now for the query, it is also quite similar to your left join. Only difference is here, instead of left, you just have to write right join. That's all. Remaining things will remain same. All right. Now we will be moving to the last type, and the last type which we have here is your full outer join. And guys, because of the space constraint, I'm actually reusing this area. If you guys want to see something, just go back in the video, pause it, and you either write it down or read it out. All right. Now the last one which we have here is full outer join. You know how it is actually going to be working? It is going to be working like the union of both tables. So how it is actually going to be working? It will take all the values from both tables. And when we will be talking about this, it will have the matching values also, the tables. Like all the values from both of the tables, be it your left table or the right table. So what it will be? It will retrieve all the records where there is a match in either the left or right table. Okay. Also here, when you will have to perform a query, how it will be? The query is going to remain same. Instead of right, you will be writing here full join. That's all. And based upon this, you will be getting the results from both of the tables. Now let's move to the next question. The next question which we have here is, what is self join and cross join? So we are going to be first of all discussing about the self join. So as the name says, self. So when you will be performing this self join, so how it will happen? It will be performing it on the table itself. Okay. So when you perform self join, so what it is going to be doing, it will be taking a table and it will be joining that table to itself. And of course, whenever you perform it, there has to be some relationship between the columns. So in this case, the relationship is going to be between its own columns, because here we are performing it on that table itself. So we will say here a table is joined to itself based on some relationship between its own columns. All right. Also, when you will be performing a self join, you are actually going to be performing two types of joins here. So it is actually going to be involving either the inner join or it is going to be performing your left join. Okay, either of these two. And in this case, like I told you in the previous case as well, that we are going to be providing some alias, right? So here for the same table, we are going to be using different alias names because we are going to be querying it. So based upon those two alias, we are going to be querying it out. And you may have a question that how we can provide two aliases to one table. So it's very easy. Even in the real life, a person can have more than one nicknames, right? So here also a table can have more than one aliases. So what is going to be the query for the same? Here we will have select, let us say our table is some employee table, and in that table we have some employee ID. Okay, so what we will do, we will say select a dot employee ID, and for that employee ID we are going to be giving it a name, something like employee ID, or let's yeah. Now you even need to extract out other information. So let us say we are also taking out something like employee name. So we will do a dot employee name, and you have to give it some alias name. So let us say we are giving it something like employee. Now from this you even need to extract out something based upon some another name, right? So we will give b dot employee ID as, let us say, some sub ID, some supervision ID, something. And here we will be taking b dot employee name, and when you will be taking it out, you have to give it some another alias name. So let us say it is supervisor. Now from where you are actually taking it out? From two tables, right? It can be your employee A, it can be your employee B, right? So we will write from employee A, employee B. And when you will be taking it out, of course there has to be some relationship between both of the tables, right? So how you will be linking it down based upon that table? So you will write where A dot, let us say, now we will be using something like for this employee we have some another case, some supervisor ID, where it will be going to be equal to your b dot employee ID. So based upon this query, you are going to be linking both of your tables together. Okay. Now the next question which is here is, what is cross join? So let me clear it out. So when you will be talking about your cross join, so what it will be doing, as the name says, you will be having two tables and they are going to be like, you can actually say Cartesian product. So you will have two tables and the output is going to be the Cartesian products of two tables. So what is a cross join? You can say Cartesian product of two tables included in join, because here everything is revolving across join. Okay, and in this case, like whatever the table you have, right, after performing join, it is actually going to be having same number of rows as the cross product of the number of rows in the two tables. And like how, if it is having 3, if it is having 3, so the total number of entries are actually going to be 3 into 3, which is 9, because what we are doing with A, we are actually doing product for like merging it with all the 3 here. Then with B, we are merging it with all XYZ. Again with C, we are merging it with all XYZ. And in this case, when you will be performing this cross join, right, what you need to do, you need to use something called as where clause. So if you are using that where clause, in that case this query will be working same like your inner join, if you have that where clause. Otherwise it's going to be working normally. Now how can you write down the query for this? So it will be something like select, let us say we have a student table, so we will have select stu dot name. It can have some subject as well, right? And from where it is actually doing, so here we will define from students as stu. Okay, here you need to see we are using as here. Also we will have to perform some cross join, so we will provide cross join here on what it will be performing it on the subjects, and here we will give as sub. So you can see from where this stu and sub are coming, whatever we are using here. And the most important thing is using cross join. Now let's look into the next question. Now the next question which we have here is, what is an index and explain its types. So for this index part, what we will do, like firstly you should be knowing where we use this index in the real world. So we use it for your books, notebooks and so on, right? What is the advantage of that? That if you want to locate some topic, some particular page, so what you can do, you can just go to that with the help of index. And how it is going to be helpful, instead of actually going there page by page, you can directly jump to that topic with the help of index. So how does it help us in saving our time? Correct. So similarly here also we are going to be performing this indexing. Okay, so what we will be doing in this index, we are going to be having some table. In that table, if you want to look for some data, you can actually do it by providing some index value to it. And how this index value is actually going to be helping you by improving the speed of that operation. So we can say what index is actually going to be do, it will provide a quick lookup in a column or columns of a table. And how it is actually helping you by enhancing the speed. Now how can you actually provide some index? You can do it like this: create index, and on what you will be doing it, you will have to provide certain name here. Now after providing that name, you will have to tell on what you are going to be doing. So you will give on table name, and here you will have to provide on what columns you are going to be doing it. And once your work is done, the best approach is to drop it off. Why drop is important? Because it will be taking some space. So it's always a good approach, once you have used some index, just drop it off. Okay, it is going to be helping you by enhancing the speed. All right, now we will be looking into what are the different types of indexes available to us. So the two indexes available to us are your unique and non-unique index. The second one is clustered and non-clustered index. Now we will be discussing about unique index. So how it is actually going to be helpful? Sometimes you have to maintain some uniqueness between all the rows of a table. So if you want to maintain that, how you can do? With the help of unique index. it is going to be helping you in maintaining data integrity so that no two rows will have same key value. And how can you achieve it? You will use create unique index, then you have to give some index name on, then you will have to give some table name, and then you have to provide your column. So this is how you can go ahead and perform your unique indexing. And where it will be used, let us say you're talking about some enrollment number, some employee enrollment number or student enrollment number, you know that number has to be unique. So if you're talking about that unique number, you will have to make that index as unique. Okay, the second one which we have here is non-unique index. So when you will be talking about non-unique, what it will be doing, the values are not going to be unique. So how it is actually going to be helpful? In this one, you are going to be using these index so that overall the query, whatever the query you are performing, that one, the overall query execution speed, or you can say query performance, that one you can improve. Now how can you do it? So just consider we have a table here. That table can have something like fields like name, age, salary, something like this. Okay, now in this particular table, let us say I always want to perform a query, something like select star from table where name is equals to ABC. So if you will see, I am actually writing a query based upon a name. So let us assume that most of your queries are in this format where you are using where clause on your name column. Alright, so normally when you hit this kind of a query, what happens is that your query execution engine, what it will try to do, it will go to each row, and if there are many rows at the time of execution, then it will be coming to the first one to check if it matches the name or not. If it matches, then it will be returning you the result, otherwise it will go to the next, and it will keep on doing unless you are reaching the last one. So if I have to go and present this search, how it is actually happening, so this is very much similar to your linear search. So in this case, the time complexity is going to be huge, that is order of n. So that is something which is going to be there. So the best one which you can do here is you need to understand how you are performing this query. So you know you are always performing it on your name column. So what you will be doing, out of this table, you are actually going to be maintaining another table where you will be having some pointer or index and some name. And that is how you're going to be storing it. So when you go and store it in a separate place, this whole column which you have copied, you will go and store it in a sorted manner. So when you will be doing it in that sorted manner, in that case, the query execution time is going to get reduced. And that is how you can actually achieve optimal performance here. Okay. Now, the next one which we have here is your clustered and non-clustered index. So when you talk about your clustered index, in this case, what you will be doing, you will be having one table. In that table, you are going to be having some order for all the rows in that table for your index, right? So in this case, if you want to create some clustered index, so that can be only one. Whereas when you talk about your non-clustered, you can have multiple. Why? Because there you are not maintaining some order, right? So you know what is the difference between your clustered and non-clustered index is that when your database manager is going to be keeping some data in the database, so it will have to keep it in the same order as your key is appearing in the clustered index. And when you talk about this clustering index, so you need to understand why are we using it. That is because it is going to be helping you in improving the performance of the most query operations. This is what we were doing it. And how we are doing it? By providing some linear access path to all the data, whatever you have stored in your database. Let's look into your next question now. Now, the next question which we have here is, what are the common clauses used with the select query in SQL? So first of all, we will be seeing what is a select statement here. So, when you talk about this select, what it will be actually doing, this select is going to be used to select data from a database. And whatever the data is going to be returned by this is actually going to be stored in some result table. And that is what we call it as result set. So whatever the output is there, it is going to go in your result table. And that is something which we call it as result set. How can you actually do it? The simple approach is select star and then you can give some table name here. So that is how you're going to be performing some select here. Okay. Now we are going to be discussing what are the common clauses whatever we use with our select. So in order to perform that, you need to know what and all are the different types available. So the first one which we have is where, then we have order by, we have group by, we have having. So let us discuss all of them one by one. So the first one is where. This where is actually going to be working in the same manner. Like let us say I am saying get me the keys. You may ask you where are the keys. So while saying the statement, I can say get me the keys where you have kept it, or where is the cupboard, something like. You just have to give some reference. So here that reference is going to be called as condition. So you will be giving it certain condition. Like let us say I am saying select star from students where name is equals to ABC. So I am saying select all the values where name is equals to ABC. Okay. So what it will be doing, it is going to be filtering records based upon the condition. Now the next one which we have here is your order by. So when you talk about order by, right, here you need to, like what you are actually going to be doing here, you are performing the sorting, and when you will be performing the sorting, it can actually go in two ways, ascending order or the descending order. So you need to provide how you want the values to be there. So whatever the records are there in some table, you are going to be performing some sort operation. So how can you write down the query? It will be like select star from, let us say, students, and then you will give order by, you can say something like student ID, and after that you just have to provide the order. Like I am saying from the student ID, whatever values you are giving, give it to me in the descending order. Now the next one which we have is group by. So when you talk by group by, but it will be doing in the real case as well. What we do by the word group, we just make a clusters, right? So here also we are going to be grouping the records, and when we will be grouping the records, we will be grouping them with some identical data, and whatever the values are there, we can use them in conjunction with some another aggregate functions to provide summarized results. How it is actually helpful, like all these things you can actually use them in conjunction with each other. Like you can use it more than one. How? Like let us say this is what your condition was there. Here only you can give something like group by, let us say, country. Okay. Now the next one which we have here is having. So when you talk about having, what it will be doing, it is going to be used to filter out the combinations. So whatever filter you are performing by group by, this one is going to be helping you by filtering it out further. So how can you do it? You will just have to provide something like, I'll just write down the exact query here. So let us say what you are actually trying to do. You are having a student table, right? So you will do select count and you are going to be doing it on student ID. Okay. And then you're also using something like country here. Now from where you are actually selecting it from some students table. So you can give it, like I said, you can use it in conjunction with the other. So let us say here I'm giving something like where country is not equals to India. Okay. Then I am also saying you just group by country, like whatever the other values are going to be there. So you have already used two queries here. Now if you want to add one more, so what you can do, you can write something like having, and here you can provide certain condition. So you can give having student ID count greater than 5. So only those values which are having student count greater than 5 will be returned. Now let's look into the next question. Now the next question which we have here is what are union, minus and intersect commands? So we are going to first of all look into union. So as the name says union, so what it will be doing, it is going to be providing a combination of two or more select statements. So what it will be doing, it can combine and returns the result set retrieved by two or more select statements. Okay, so how it is actually going to be working? So firstly, like before that, you need to understand when we will be executing any of these three statements, be it your union, minus or intersect, in that particular one, you have to take care of certain conditions. What and all those are? So the first one is each select statement within the clause must have same number of columns. Okay. The second one is columns must also have similar data type. And the last one is columns in each select statement should necessarily have the same order. So you need to take care of these things before proceeding ahead. So how the query is going to be there? So it will be like select name from students. So what we are doing, we are fetching the union of queries here. So we will do union. Then from where do you want to do? I want to do it from select name from contacts. Okay, so that is how you can go ahead and perform your union. If you want to fetch the union of all queries, even with the duplicates, so you know what you have to do here. Next to union, you even need to provide all. With the help of this all, it will be providing you duplicate entries as well. Okay, now we will be moving to the next one, which is our minus. So when you talk about minus, right, so what it will be doing, this particular one is going to be removing the duplicate values from the result set. And why it is important? Sometimes we just want our values in a manner that it is not having any duplicate values. So what it will be doing, it will be used to remove duplicates from the result set obtained by the second select query from the result obtained by the first select query and then return the filtered results from the firsts. Okay, that is how it is actually going to be working. Now, how can you actually write down the query for the same? It is very easy. So here what you will have to do, let us say we have a table students. So you will do select name from students. So what it will be doing, it will be fetching names from the students table. Now you just want to provide certain condition here. So we will do minus. So what this minus will be doing, it is just going to be removing some values which are not present in the contacts. So you will do minus select name from contacts. Okay, now the next one which we have is intersect. So when you talk about intersect, what it will be doing here, it will be combining the result which you can get by using two select statements where record from one matches with the other, and then it will be returning you intersection of those result sets. Now how can you write down the query for the same? So you will be using the same query with certain modifications. So here you will use intersect. So how it is actually going to be working, what this will do, this will be returning you the names from the students table. Then what you are doing, you are using intersect. So what intersects will do, it is just going to check that, return those values that are present in contacts table as well, and then you will be writing down the second table. So that is how you are going to be making it work. All right. If you have found this session helpful, please share it with your friends as well. And if you have any questions, please put it in the comment section below. Also, subscribe to the Talent 500 YouTube channel, and I will be meeting you in the next session. We are going to be covering something new. Till then, happy learning. Bye bye, guys.